You might have heard palpable excitement in my voice talking about the Cincinnati Bengals in my last team preview. I think you're going to hear the exact opposite when I talk about this team, which is the Cleveland Browns, going from exciting to what I feel like is a dumpster fire, one of the worst teams in the NFL last season, and I think they will continue to be this year. So, not to blow my conclusion here right at the very beginning, but here we go. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns because they're an NFL team and we have to talk about them. But let's start with the most important position on this team, the quarterback. Because right now, this team, I mean, you have 40-year-old Joe Flacco, right? We'll see how much we see him in the preseason, probably not very much because he's 40, who has played well in his ripe age and has proven to be, I mean, the guy keeps earning money. Good for him, Joe. But this was the lowest scoring team in the NFL last season, 15.2 points per game. The worst team in the NFL on third down. That is not a connection by coincidence, right? If you can't complete first downs, you can't get in position to score. Deshaun Watson looked like a shell of himself. He's injured right now. He's going to join this quarterback room eventually, and then the Browns are going to have an even bigger mess on their hands. Just 4.1 yards per rush last season, couldn't stop sacks, and turned it over a ton too, 30th in those categories. So this quarterback carousel is something interesting. You got Kenny Pickett, who they picked up from Philly. He has an injured hamstring right now. You have 40-year-old Joe Flacco. You have Deshaun Watson, who's out right now. You have Shador Sanders, right, who they got in, the sixth round, fifth round, towards the end of the draft. Shockingly to many, not so shockingly to us. And Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, another quarterback in the draft that they actually chose before Shador. You know that by now. They also just signed Tyler Huntley, former Baltimore Ravens backup quarterback. I think Huntley might be the best quarterback on this roster right now, just based on the amount of experience he has. He's still in his prime and his youth. He certainly understands the AFC North. He's got some legs to him. But we're about to see Shador Sanders this weekend. This is August 7th as I record this. So we'll see how he plays. My opinion, Shador Sanders in preseason is going to look a lot like Bronny James in the G League. Not great, not impressive. Perhaps boosted into the pro scene a little too early. But when you have a quarterback situation like this with not really any of these guys jumping off the screen as like, hey, we're jumping off, paper or whatever you want to say, as a quarterback that can lead this team beyond many of its other problems, you have an equation for more failure. And I also don't like their running back room. I mean, Jerome Ford was good last season. This is going to be their first season without Nick Chubb in a long time. They brought in Keyshawn Jenkins from Ohio State. Kid could be good, but both are unproven. I do like their offensive line. I mean, they got some good depth that they added, a guard and a tackle in the offseason, both rated above average. But then a wide receiver room run led by Jerry Jeudy. I'm just not a fan of that either. I mean, Jeudy had really good numbers last season overall, but I don't think he's meant to be a number one. He's not a very big guy. And the quarterbacks who he's going to be getting the ball from, if he can even get the ball from them, I just don't love his prospects. There's not a lot of depth in the wide receiver room. The lowest scoring team in the NFL last season, and 10-7 ATS to the under. So just keep that in mind because I think that's a trend that we're going to keep on seeing this season. Now on defense, they were good on third and fourth down conversion rates. In other words, preventing opposing offenses from completing third and fourth down conversions, but average to below average in every other category. They did not force any fumbles or interceptions. And of course, Myles Garrett was almost the entirety of their sack rate. 14 of their 41 sacks, 34% came from Myles Garrett. Couldn't stop teams in the red zone, and they're bottom 6 in most areas of production allowed. So this was a bad defense last season. And of course, there's Myles Garrett. There's some good talent on the team, but overall, of course, when your offense is not producing at all either, which I think is the situation this defense is going to find themselves in again, it's really tough to be on the field for that long, right? And continually hold back other great teams in the AFC North and in the AFC Conference. Now, of course, the 5th round draft pick, or the 5th overall draft pick, I should say, Mason Graham from Michigan. He pops on tape, legitimate pass rusher. Him and Myles Garrett could be a very scary combination. They also just added significant depth at linebacker and for the defensive line. So there's absolutely some things to be excited about on their defensive line and their front seven. If you're going to be excited about anything from the Cleveland Browns, that's probably where they're the most talented, is their front seven. The secondary, young, there's some on-paper talent there, but again, allowed a ton of pass yards last year, couldn't quite hold up when their offense couldn't do anything. And I have to wonder again if we're going to see a very similar tape, a similar result for the Cleveland Browns this season. Very hard schedule, doesn't help. Outside the AFC North, which we know, the Ravens, Steelers, and the Bengals are next to the NFC North. This might be the best division in football. So the AFC North is very hard. And then they have the NFC North, right? In my opinion, still the two toughest divisions. Then they have Buffalo, San Francisco, Vegas, who's not going to be easy anymore with Pete Carroll there, and Miami. So this is a very tough schedule for the Browns. I mean, there's really no automatic wins here. Like, I don't know if you can look at the Browns and Survivor at all this season. If I look at my board over here, I have Cleveland in week 14. So what is week 14 for Cleveland? Let's see why I put that down as an option. It's really interesting because I didn't think I had anyone. The Titans, right? Because I think the Titans are going to be maybe the worst team in the NFL. But at least they have Cam Ward, who seems to have the right mentality and character and upside. The Browns, I don't know if I'm seeing a lot of upside here for the Cleveland Browns. I don't think you can count on them a lot this season. I do think, again, that with their quarterback situation being constantly in flux, their lack of scoring, I don't think they're going to have much of a run game. You know, looking at unders throughout this season, especially maybe if it's a little bit inflated against, let's say, like a Cincinnati Bengals or a Baltimore Ravens, one of the better offenses in their division, their defense could absolutely step up in those cases. And we see more low-scoring games, under 40 points, under 38 points, something like that. But overall, strong lean to the under here at 5.5. I might make that an official play for my clients here. A Substack, not totally sure about that yet. But I give them a power rating of 59. I think 5.5. I think this should be 4.5 probably. I mean, the Cleveland Browns just don't have really anything going for them. You think about momentum. This administration hasn't improved much, and they just didn't add much offensively. I mean, they have a big problem at quarterback. Now, is there a chance that there's a Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, you know, or maybe Tyler Huntley finally finds his spot here with the Cleveland Browns, and they can start producing a little bit on offense? Like, that's the scenario where the Cleveland Browns are an interesting team. But that's a huge if. There's a reason why those quarterbacks didn't go into later rounds. Other than that, you have the best quarterback on the roster as far as pure throwing ability is a 40-year-old Joe Flacco, and this is a 4-13 against the spread team last season. So I don't expect much from the Browns. I don't think you should either. I'm not very excited about much of anything on their roster except for the depth of their front seven. With that, we will move on to the Dallas Cowboys for the next team preview.